Hmm. Let's do this. Hello, folksicles. Happy New Year, 2019. And how many of us have written the date wrong? I've done it twice. How are we, folks? 9 o'clock, Sunday night, UK time. It is time for the Sunday Nighter, your weekly terrain Q&A show. Yes, we're back. 2019. This year, we'll make it our year, won't we? That's the battle plan this year. Pretty sure I say that every year. Now I'm looking rather picked up and perky and not as dishevelled as I normally look these evenings. Those few of you who follow me on on Facebook will know that I had a skin cleanse last night. It was date night last night, and Kerry decided she was going to try one of these black tar skin peel things on me. Have you seen those cartoons where they grab your face and they pull it like that? Yeah, it was a bit like that, but I'm rather smooth. That's it, we're getting into it. Hiya, Kat, how you doing? The gang's all here. Yes, this is a question and answer show. Down below in the links. They better be in the links. I better check now, hadn't I? Yeah, you will find a link to the Google Doc. In the Google Doc, yeah, you can submit any terrain questions you've got. There's 3 questions on the Google Doc. What's your screen name? What platform are you on? Are you on YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook? And then finally, what your question is. Get your question in there, and we will get into them in about 10 minutes once they start building up. That's the battle plan anyway. That was a very odd date night, Kat is telling me. I don't think we have normal date nights. I've got to sort out taking Kerry hang gliding. Because I said I'm interested in going hang gliding. So Kes went, yeah, I'm interested in going hang gliding. So we're going hang gliding. Make the bloody Battle of the Gulch, American 5th Armour, Panzer Division, 101st Airborne. I'm more interested in where it was than what units were in it, mate. Right. So yes, the Google Doc is open. It is ready for your questions. So if you've got any questions, get them in down below. Oh, pardon me. Have we had a good Christmas break? Mel decided he was taking a proper Christmas break. Kez has got a new job, and her hours work. She's working 210, which basically means that I'm just not going to see her in the evenings anymore during the week. So she started in the new year, so I decided I'd take, Christmas off properly. I was going to go into the studio, do a few good days, but I just decided, nah. We'll sit back and watch. I'll have some time with the kids and with Kez, and because it's going to be a busy year this year for both of us, to be truthful. Yeah. Oh, John, thank you very much. That's going towards the mic upgrades. If you're wondering what the mic upgrades are about, I've seen some rather nice mics that I can desk fit onto here. And I'm interested in doing podcasting. I want to see about setting up a podcast and start doing that. So, yeah, that's what our target is down in that corner. And that's what we're collecting for. Any donations during a live stream that you make via PayPal, via Streamlabs, they all go towards kit for the show. Oh. I still haven't figured out to switch the bloody notification noise off when we get a follower on Twitch. Doesn't happen on anything else but Twitch, and I can't figure that out. Yeah, but yes, that's where the donations go. So if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the information, yeah, throw a couple of nuggets down there via the old PayPal. You help me get the kit, and you help me get towards my 2019 goal of getting a podcast rolling. So, oh, crypto, thank you. Coyote Whitman, yeah, I think that is. So, before we jump into the questions while they build up, because I know you guys are going to have lots of questions, even though none of you submitted them any yet. Come on, guys, I need questions for a live show. I daren't do that Ask Me Anything. It worries me, that does. Yeah? But, podcasts, how many of you... There we go, thank you, Coyote Whitman. We're getting there, slowly. So, yeah, well, I think what we're £50-ish in. I'll check PayPal's in a minute, guys. So, podcasts. How many of you guys listen to podcasts? Is it a thing that you listen to? Would you be interested in a terrain podcast? Can we post the link? I'm sure we can post the link. Right. I can post multiple links because I is admin. I hope I can post multiple links. See if I can post that. No, I can't because it's too long. That's not going to work, is it? That will. I think I've posted the links. I hope I posted the links. Mal loves sticking one on while I'm painting, yeah? Please explain what's a podcast. Podcast is basically an audio show. You know, very much like a YouTube chat show, but without the YouTube and without the visuals. Listen to loads of podcasts. Think Terrain Shoot 1 would be amazing. I listen to podcasts every week. His Twitch is new and he's still working it out. Yeah, I am still working Twitch out. Well, the studio show's starting up this week. What do you call it? Should be. Kit's in place and everything. So assuming that internet and everything at the studio is fine, they'll be going out on Twitch mainly, my informal studio shows. I'm getting there. I listen to podcasts every day. When I run out of wargaming podcasts, I go for the Model Railroaders. Love me a good podcast. Someone's talking there, it sounds like Rust. If people are asking for a link to the podcast, I haven't even recorded it yet, guys. Hey, Stemmer. So, yes, podcasts. I'm not sure if being one person on a podcast works. What's your thoughts on that, guys? Do you prefer a banter between hosts? You see, logistically, obviously one person doing a podcast would be a lot easier for me to do. Yeah, but if we need to build it up and we need a second co-host, then I've got to find someone I can co-host with regularly, because obviously it's going to have to be a regular show. On top of that, how often should you podcast? I mean, I see some people doing it weekly. I see some people doing it monthly. What are your thoughts? TSG Multimedia do some neat podcasts. TSG, they're the Dungeons and Dragons guys. Right, 7 questions in so far. Looking good as well. Some good questions. Ah, the chat isn't showing up on the screen, is it? Of course it isn't. Why are you not working? It should work. Refresh of the current page. Oh. There's always something, isn't it? Always. Right, what's the link for that? Copy. Right, try again. See if this works. I don't know why they suddenly changed these things. There we go. Technology. It's always the way. They Restream have been messing around with their system by the looks of it. The git. Well, they've really botched that, haven't they? What's going on there? What have they done with that? I do not know what's going on there. We've got two. Have we got two chat boxes going? There we go. See if that works. I may have to go back to the other chat. Just put the standard chat on. If that works. Right. Looks like Twitch is overlapping YouTube. It does, doesn't it? Crazy. You see, that's the problem. They'll do a little update to their software and they won't tell you. And the first time you find out about it is when you start live streaming, because that's when the chats start coming through. Ah, people are asking for the link for the Google Doc. Here we go. That should be it. Let's throw that in. Right. Luckily, I can see the chat, which is the main thing. Yeah. No, TSG Array Roaders. Oh, right. Okay. Do banter. Link with other terrain makers, painters, tabletop toppers to talk to. It's the logistics of making those connections and that sort of stuff. I'm really curious how the podcast would work, considering how visuals, what you do is. Yeah, it is a challenge. The idea that terrain making is terrain making is essentially a visual medium, but there are arts podcasts, there are lots of podcasts on visual mediums. You can talk about it. I mean, at the end of the day, we do talk about terrain making. We have a whole live show without any visuals, so it's certainly doable. One person could do it, but they're always better with two people for stuff like that. Yeah, I feel that. I feel like it's better with a bit of banter between the two. Your link's not showing on Twitch. Right. Twitch. Let's head over to Twitch and throw that into the Twitchy. It's just gone off again, hasn't it? What is it doing? There you go. Throw the Google link into there for you. Any plan to do a Pegasus bridge? If you mean Pegasus bridge as in, what you call it? It's the Netherlands, isn't it? Pegasus? Netherlands? If you're talking about the what you call it, you know, the Road to Berlin bridge, then who do, I think, what you call it? I think Foreground did an MDF kit for that, didn't they? Randy's asking, is there a way for me to disable the CC below Mel? I'm quite curious about what you call it, about what YouTube is putting on the CC for this, but it should be in your settings. Hi, Rack. Do you play any computer war games like Total War? I've dabbled with Total War. I do play me World of Tanks. I am looking. Is it Men of Honor? A friend of mine has been pushing me towards. Gaz was really going on about that. It's pretty good. So I need to check that out. Maybe it's worth guesting on a few podcasts first and asking advice from existing podcasters. I'm going to have a dig into what podcasts are going. I used to listen to a lot of podcasts, but that was probably about 10 years ago. 40k Radio, Independent Characters, Bad Dice. Who were the other ones? I used to have a whole list of them, and they were good. Yeah, it's Normandy. Right, the bridge is in Normandy, is it? Yeah. I think both Foreground and Sarissa do a Pegasus bridge. I think Foreground did it first, and then Sarissa took it on because Warlord wanted an unpainted MDF kit for the Sarissa, for the Pegasus bridge. Yeah, and Foreground did it, but they don't really do unpainted MDF stuff, so I think Sarissa took it on. But don't quote me as an authority on that. Yeah? Pegasus build would be cool. I'd rather see a scratch build rather than the MDF kit. I don't think I'd go with a scratch build. Yeah, but especially for a Pegasus bridge. There's a lot of struts and girders and stuff like that with it. And I think for the amount of time it would take to scratch build that, you might as well go for the go for an MDF kit. Have you ever looked at playing Malifaux? Yeah, I have played a couple of games of Malifaux, to be truthful. Interesting mechanics, interesting characters and world and that sort of stuff, but never really sort of sucked me in. I'm not a big fan of Wild West stuff, and it seems to fit into a Wild West theme, and it's just, I'm not a Wild West fan, if you know what I mean. Let's have a look how we're doing. Right, we've got 9 questions on the old Google. Right, let's have a look at some questions, eh? Since we're about 15 minutes in. Right, Max on YouTube is asking, best way to make your own washes for building kits, structures from store-bought art supplies that is permanent. Okay, washes. Right, let's get into this. Couple of ways of doing washes. 3 primary ways, and that's to make a wash, yeah, or you can do a shotgun technique, or you can do fine precision work. So let's go with the shotgun technique. The shotgun technique is quite simple. It's simply watering down paint and just applying it. There's no flow aid or anything like that. It's very random. The results are reasonable. I know Dave Marshall just whacks his washes straight on, and as long as you flood the area, i.e. shotgun it, you can get some good results. Now the next step is to make washes. Now a wash is just either a watered down paint or a watered down ink. Inks work better in washes, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, but acrylic paint works pretty damn well. Yeah, but if you can get your hands on acrylic inks and make your washes out of those, they're much better. Now to make a wash, at the bare minimum, what you're going to be looking at is you watered down ink or paint and some sort of flow aid. Now this could be professional flow aid. I use professional flow aid. I spent £8 on a bottle, yeah, 5 years ago, and I'm only halfway through the bottle, and that's with doing everything I've ever done on the terrain tutor. Yeah, and I use it in all sorts. It gets thrown into absolutely pretty much everything I'm painting at some point. Yeah, so you could get yourself some professional, flow improver. I use, right, do I use Winsor Newton? I think I use Winsor Newton flow improver. Yeah, throw that in and that will give you a wash. And what that will do is, by flow improver reduces the surface tension of the water. Okay, so it helps it to flow and carry the diluted paint pigment or diluted ink into the cracks. Okay, so it will produce a much better wash than the shotgun method of just plastering it all on and let gravity do the work. Now the final way of doing washes isn't a wash so much, but it produces similar results. What you can do is you can layer on, yeah, a coat of water over where you're washing. Then go in with very tiny amounts of acrylic paint on a fine brush and drop those onto the layer. Because they've been dropped onto the layer, they don't adhere to the surface, so you can move them around and manipulate them. And then as the water dries, it leaves the paint pigment in place and it finishes. There's a good video in the Hills, Rocks and Cliffs playlist, yeah, using acrylic washes to paint rocks, and I use that technique in there, and it's a good technique. But for handling washes, 3 main ways: water your paint down and slap it on, use some sort of flow improver to make a proper wash, or apply a coat of water first and go in with very specific colours in specific places and manually apply your wash details. And Tim's saying, make sure you wash behind your ears. That's a good point. Couldn't let it pass, it'd be just wrong. Right. Question 2 of 13. Hope you found that useful, Max. Yeah, and if you guys did find it useful, tips down below, guys. And if you've got any tips yourselves, get them in the comments. Right, Jake Sellers, he's asking on YouTube. So I've really recently started toying around with wire trees. Although I'm happy with the armatures, I'm finding it hard to get a nice coverage. I'm using clump foliage along some slightly lighter foliage, but I just can't get a nice coverage. Any tips on making it look natural? Now, we did a whole series on this, and I've still got more to do on this. Yeah. The challenge you're having isn't the armatures, it's the crown of the tree, which is the foliage. Now, you can get good results using clump foliage, but they produce very dense trees. And although they look good at a distance, they don't look brilliant up close. Yeah, because the foliage isn't fine enough. So what you need to look at doing is changing that up. Now, there's a few options. Yeah. Seafoam is a really good option. Yeah, you can fix it to your armatures, you can layer it on, glue it on, and it will produce a really fine crown. The other option is something like coconut fibre. And you can get these plant liners that are made of coconut fibre, and you can just tease it out, spray it with a very dark brown, spray it with a spray adhesive, then throw some foam flocks and some light leaf scatter at it. I've even seen people do good stuff with painted eggshells. Yeah, that looks really nice. Crushed up eggshells mixed with paint and then applied on top of the crown. And that will give you quite a detailed crown. Yeah, because it'll let the light through and its density will be different in places. Whereas with the clump foliage trees, what you get is it's solid all the way across. Whereas with the seafoam trees, with the coconut fibre sort of foliage and crowns, they're much fuller, yeah, but they've got light and space inside them, so it's far more realistic. Right, I'm not seeing any, not seeing any comments in the comments from this. But yeah, Jake, that's how I'd handle it. I'd go and have a look at coconut fibre, go and have a look at seafoam, go and have a look at the foliage playlist. What is it? Plants, Trees and Grass or something? It's on the channel. Go and have a look at it. There's a series called Realistic Trees, and there's a few different techniques in there for producing the crowns of the tree. Right, moving on. Question 3 of 13. Stemmer from YouTube. Hey, I was wondering what's the best way to cut 4mm plus plastic card is. What type of glue would be best to glue it to one another? Planning some scratch building. 4mm plasticard? Stemmer, you're not using 4mm plasticard, mate. I don't think I've ever seen 4mm plasticard. I mean, 4mm plasticard is much getting into the realms of acrylic sheets. I mean, I know acrylic sheets are tougher and that sort of stuff, but it's quite a thickness, mate. If you've got solid plastic like that, I mean, the closest I've come to that would be EPVC, which is foamed plastic. And I cut that with a blade. I think if you are using 4mm, I think you got to look at a scroll saw, mate. I think you'll struggle to go through 4mm with a blade. I'd probably fall back to a scroll saw and then sand the edges. Why are you using 4mm plasticard for scratch building? Why not foam board, EPVC, polystyrene foam, high density extruded stuff? I'm curious. Stemmer, let me know. They exist. They do exist. Really? 4mm plasticard? Ooh. I'm curious now. Stemmer, do me a favour. Can you throw me a link over for that? Throw it on Facebook or something like that, bud. But yeah, 4mm, I would say I'm going to have to go with a scroll saw, unless I've actually handled it. Do you know what I mean? But my bulk cutting techniques is either my yellow blade, yeah, an X-Acto Stanley, or scroll saw. 4mm plasticard is in Hobbycraft, Nightmare to cut with a blade and plastic glue to stick to itself. Yeah, with regards to the gluing, I would go with either plastic glue or super glue. Plastic glue is probably going to be your best option. I have it on hand, gotta use it. What's it like for basing? That sounds like it could be pretty damn good for basing, to be truthful. Trupper's saying that must be expensive. Yeah, I'm curious on the price of that. See, you've got all those terrainiacs intrigued now. We're all sitting here going, 4mm plasticard. Because I am thinking, because 3mm EPVC, it's a nice thin base, but it's not as sturdy as the 5mm stuff. So 4mm plasticard. All right then. Let's go move on. Right, Jake's back. Right, I've answered that question, Jake. So question 5, Evan A's asking, Mel, do you have any tips on making molds? Any product recommendations, or is there a video on it? Do you know what, mate? I have no suggestions on mold making whatsoever. My mold making abilities are absolutely rubbish. I mean, really rubbish. Peter uses 3mm and 4mm plasticard for basing, right? But no, when it comes, when it comes down to mold making, I've barely dabbled with it. I've made some basic RTV silicone molds. I've done some green stuff molds. I've used that UHU stuff, the reheat stuff. That you can get some good results with that. But you know, I haven't done enough mold making to remotely feel like I can give suggestions on it. That's one for the mold makers. I don't know of any mold making channels. Terrainiacs, mold making. Who would you follow? Who would you look at? Right, going back to the 4mm plasticard we're all interested in. Yeah. It's about a £5 for an A4 sheet. But then again, it is plasticard. People are saying you get 3mm, 4mm. 4's very hard to cut. 3mm's a bit better. There's some sort of American football game going on. Amaruru. Yeah, that Martin, that's what I mean. That stuff. Girl Painter did a vid. Is she back on YouTube, is she? Has she disappeared? There's a really good tutorial on mold making on Adam Savage Tested. Do we know if there's any specific mold making channels? Green Stuff will do 3mm plasticard. Right, just while we're chewing through that, I'm going to have a quick nose at PayPal. Hey, boy.
Good day.
Good day. And just make sure we're not missing anyone who's donating direct. Right, okay. This is where I've got to figure out who sent what. Because I've got to figure out what's come through on the screen. Ah, we've just had from Menno a £5. Thank you, buddy. So we're a bit closer. We're about £8 closer to what you call it, to our mic upgrade. You can tell it's January, can't you? Everyone's pockets are like this. We're exactly the same. I'm on a tight budget this month. I've even budgeted my cigarettes. Bought them. That's got to last me. Is horse hobby making. I have a friend and she's forever making molds for resin. Horse hobby making, do a lot of mold making. Peter suggests Mike at Terrainiacs for mold making vids. Mike does do a lot of good vids and he is back. Yeah, he is back producing videos. He's produced 2 videos now. So he's back. I think he releases videos every Tuesday. Do you have a tutorial on fuel drums and ammo boxes? I don't, but we need to do one of those, don't we? Big list of... let's get a tutorial list going.
Let's put it on. Hey, Dad.
Hey, son.
Shall we go upstairs and tell Wolsey's bedtime for her? She has school tomorrow, isn't she?
Really? You're going to be that brutal?
Yeah.
Corbin's school doesn't go back till Tuesday. Corbin's school goes back... Willow's school goes back on Monday. So Willow's got school in the morning. The boy, up here, yeah? What have you got in your hair?
Don't know.
You got some white stuff in your hair, mate.
With cotton.
It's cotton.
Probably. Don't know.
Yes, the boy has got an extra day off school. So... Yeah, he's wondering whether he should go upstairs and let Willow know that it's bedtime because she's got to... Do you know what? I've never seen you so diligent about bedtimes, boy.
Here's the thing, normally, she does it to me because her school normally after holidays, she gets to go one day after me.
Right,
But
yeah.
This is the one time.
So you really want to... Yeah, you really...
One time of the year.
You can tell her once it's bedtime and then you can get in your room. Yeah, Mike at Terrainiacs really seems like a nice guy too. Yeah, what you call it? We hung out on a Skype last week. Yeah, and we managed to... I think we did 3 hours on a Skype. I had 1 cup of coffee in that entire time. And I don't think we talked about terrain at all. Yeah, we just shot the shit on absolutely everything else. I've got a lot of time for Mike. Yeah. When I started on YouTube, there were a few, big terrain channels when I was a nobody. Yeah, I'm still pretty much a nobody. I'm in my own home anyway. Yeah, but Mike was one of the few of the bigger channels who actually took notice and sort of like encouraged me and that sort of stuff. And because of the way YouTube works, my channel grew and it flew past his. And it's always something I felt a bit awkward about, to be perfectly honest. Because that guy definitely does deserve more subs than he's currently getting. Yeah. Seriously, I should do a shout. Yeah, I should do a shout out for you. Hello.
Hi.
Right, sure.
Well, it's bedtime now, but she doesn't believe it.
She doesn't believe it. Oh, darling. But you do have school in the morning, don't you?
My language.
No.
Pardon, language?
Oh, sorry.
Really? Do you think that's appropriate, do you? Do you think that's appropriate off YouTube? No. I'm not smiling, young lady.
Sorry, Dad.
Alright, come here. Bedtime. Say sorry to YouTube.
Sorry.
Right, come on. Upstairs, you.
Go get a drink.
Yeah, go get a drink, then upstairs. You never was a nobody, Mel. That's a double negative, isn't it? What type of casting is someone after? I don't even know. Whether resin or plaster. Whether they want to make a, a latex mould, a silicone mould, a hard mould, a mouldy sandwich. Not so sure about that. I've heard you name dropped in a number of places. Dorky Dad, I'm curious, where have you heard me name dropped? Who is dropping my name? Now we do know that I'm not a nobody because we know there's a fake Mel out there going around in North Cheshire pretending to be me. Yeah, we know. We haven't heard anything of fake Mel for a few months now. We haven't had any reports about fake Mel, but we know there is definitely a fake Mel out there. Kids will be kids. They will. I don't think I've ever heard Mel swear. You won't hear me swear online on a channel. I won't. And it's not because I don't swear. Please understand, I do swear as a person. And, I'm not prudish or anything like that, or not a massive stippler. The reason I don't swear is that I'm quite conscious that a lot of you guys are very much like my situation. You watch my videos around the family. Now, if I start swearing, you can't watch my videos around your kids, because I wouldn't watch a video with swearing. I have to, when my kids are around, if a video's got swearing in, I won't watch it. Okay, and I'll watch it when they've gone to bed, or I'll just move on. And so I'm very conscious about swearing when I'm making my videos and when I'm doing live streams. Not because I don't swear. Trust me, I swear. I quite like swearing. I really like swearing, actually. When you can get really creative. I mean, I invest time in learning how to swear in other languages.
Apparently it's a sign of intelligence anyway.
I know.
I'm talking to yourself.
I know.
apparently.
I talk to myself a lot as well. I'm very well known for talking to myself a lot. But the reason I don't swear online is basically so people don't have problems watching my videos. I did swear in one very early on, and someone messaged me saying, "Mel, please don't. I haven't got any problem about it, but I can't watch your videos around the kids." And that was the defining moment for me. A friend told me last week he followed your channel and he isn't a terrain builder or a wargamer. He just finds your tutorials relaxing and interesting. There's one. Is there really a fake Mel? There is. Yeah. The story goes, we had a weird report of someone trying to go around some shops selling, no.
Pretending to be you?
Yes.
I remember that.
Alright, I do as well. Right, good night, God bless. Right, have you done all your homework? Because if you haven't, you're kind of knackered
We
now.
haven't been given any.
Have you not?
She's up to date.
None at all?
No, we don't get given any over the summer term.
Have you done your reading?
Yes.
Have you been practicing your manga drawings and your anime?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting better.
Yeah.
Are you going to show your teacher?
Yeah.
Good. Now go to bed.
Actually, a lot of mangas aren't that good to draw for teachers.
Are they not? Do teachers not like mangas and anime?
No, because most of them are about
Stop
fighting.
Oh, look, bedroom monitor's after you. He wants you to go bed now.
Shut up, Mufasa!
Right, good night, God bless. It's not the Sunday night without the kids, is it, folks? The individual swears are not the issue, it's the combo swears that are a thing. I've heard you mention lots of D&D and wargaming channels. You mentioned on lots of D&D and wargaming channels. Ah. Mel, do you know the folk band aren't showing up in the stream? Yeah, we had to switch them off. We were having a bit of issues with the old chat bot, so we just had to switch those. I've stopped my kids in their tracks with an incorrect but creatively used phrase. Exactly. Hey up, insane. Right. I think we need to move on with some questions. Harvey is asking, what is your guilty pleasure when it comes to making terrain? My guilty pleasure. So, my guilty pleasure, to define a guilty pleasure, I enjoy it, but I shouldn't enjoy it. Making a mess. I'm notorious for it. I should wear gloves when I'm doing filler work and stuff like that. Yeah, but I just love getting my hands wet and messy and playing around and just seeing what you can come up with. You know what I mean? I'm very tactile like that. I always have been. I don't know, but I mean, by trade, my qualifications and what I'm actually trained to do is I'm a physiotherapist. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's what that's what my degree's in. My master's in exercise physiology. That's where my training is. And obviously, being a physiotherapist, it's very hands-on. It's very tactile. My finger sense and my sense of touch is a lot better than most people because I've spent years sort of slowly feeling for bumps and adhesions in tissues and swellings and slight temperature changes indicating indicating inflammation and stuff like that. And I've done it for so long now that my actual sense of touch is actually quite crazy. I can pick up, I can detect bumps on smooth surfaces, incredibly tiny. It's a bit like the Princess and the Pea. I've set my hands on the mattress. And so I really like being really tactile and getting hands-on with my stuff. There's probably a little bit of that why I haven't really moved into mold making and 3D printing and laser cutting, because they're all areas of the hobby I should look at, but I just like playing with my hands. Jake's saying he loves using filler gloveless too. See? Hello, new to all this. I'm building terrain with expanded foam, the one you made, little balls. How can I seal all the little holes in it? Filler or dry wall compound or spackle? All those will fill the holes, mate. Right. So yes, that would be my guilty pleasure, mate. Working without gloves. There are times when I do wear gloves when it's resins and it's things that are going to be a bit, you know, caustic to my hands. But that being said, the amount of times I come back home with just filler under my fingernails and stuff like that and have to jump in the bath and scrub it out. Mel should do some more tinfoil molds maybe. I've done the tinfoil molds. They're a good technique. That is one mold I was doing. Right, Red Green's asking, what do you think of using Neshell stuff in terrain? I'm not sure what Neshell stuff is, matey. Let me know in the comments what you meant. I'm not sure if I'm mispronouncing it, if it's a spelling issue, or I just don't know the product, dude. So let me know in the comments. We almost heard about Fake Mel. Yes, we did. Willow distracted us, didn't she? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, yeah, what was it? Tail end of last year, guys? Yeah, I had a report about the summer. Yeah, in fact, someone messaged me to say that they'd been into a gaming shop in Chester. Yeah, and they'd seen a board I'd made there. Yeah, and I was saying, I haven't made this goblin board for a shop in Chester. And he was like, no, the shopkeeper was quite insistent that you made it and he'd bought it off you. You'd come in the store and sold it. And I'm like, dude, I haven't even been to Chester in like 5 years. I haven't been to Chester since I started the channel, so there's no way I've sold a gaming board to them. And I put it down to just, all right, well, perhaps some you know, gaming shop owners gone, look, you see that board? The terrain tutor made that. You know what I mean? It's like, no big deal. Just put it to the side and forget about it. Then again, 3 months later, a guy contacted me saying he was in a games workshop and he was approached by someone who said he was Mel the terrain tutor and was looking to sell terrain. And this was in the Chester Games Workshop. Yeah, and it was like, all right, that's twice I've heard of someone, my name, being associated with selling stuff, terrain, in Chester. And it ain't me. And so we actually reached out and tried to find out if there was an actual, you know what I mean? And we haven't heard any more about Fake Mel. I've had no more reports, and I've actually spoke to a couple of guys who work in distribution in the industry. You know, like a couple of companies that distribute out and have got connections with all the game stores. And I've put it out through them to sort of like, just put it out that, look, you know what I mean? If someone comes walking in claiming to be me, get some details. But yeah, that's Fake Mel. So I can't be a nobody, because if someone's faking me. Right, John Strange is asking, what's the best way to smooth the joins on foam board without texturing it? Thanks in advance. Right. Now, technically, the issue here is when we join foam board, you have a join line. If you join them at an angle, you have an exposed join line. Now, you can cover these with fascias. You know, you can go to the DIY store and you get like plastic right angles in strips. Yeah, and you can just cut them, put them over any corners, that sort of stuff. You can get plastic strips. You can get T-strips and they'll fit in between foam. Yeah, and that's a really good way of adding fascias and that sort of stuff. If you're looking to just hide it without texturing it, some of the simplest ways is tape. Yeah, painter's tape or masking tape. Just tape over the join line. You will have a slight transition line on the tape, but it won't be nowhere as near as the transition line with the foam. The other one is filler. Just put filler between the join line, get a card, scrape it up and smooth it off, and that will give you quite a nice join line. You will struggle to get a perfectly smooth join line, even with the filler technique. Yeah, because it's different materials, and I've always struggled getting it completely smooth, which is why I'll normally go over it after I've either done the tape or the fascia or the filler technique. And what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll stipple over it. Yeah, just to get a little bit of texture to hide those join lines. Right, we're on 15 questions. Keep an eye on the chat to make sure we're not missing anyone on the old Facebook or Twitch. So yeah, that's how I'd handle joining foam boards. Either hide it, cover it, or fill it. Alright, so I hope that helps you, John. Right, a quick check of the numbers. Come on. No, nothing. Alright. Right, Bobby is asking, ever any plans to do an Egyptian Aztec pyramid build scene? None on the cards, not for this year at least. I haven't even thought about Egyptian stuff yet, to be perfectly honest. It is on the list because it is a common theme for wargaming, but there's a few other things I need to finish off before that. We've got to get this medieval series done. I was supposed to start that last year and we never got it rolling, so I need to do the medieval early history stuff for the Let's Makes. I've got to go back and I've got to do the I've got to do more of the modern urban stuff because we started that and we didn't finish it. Plus I've got a few more large builds. I don't know if we could do it as a 2x2 feature build. That may be doable. But the next 3 of those are already lined up, and that's probably going to take me well into the year, mate, to be perfectly honest. John's saying he thinks he's going to go with the plastic corners to hide it. Works well, mate. Just check out your local B&Q hardware store. They'll have plastic fascias. Yeah, they sell them normally by 4-foot lengths. Hello, you.
Hello, you.
Oh, and I thought you were coming to make me a brew.
I'm just sorting uniforms.
Right. How are we doing? 50 minutes in, we are. Question 11 of 15. I may need a few more questions. Hey, mate, I have some pieces of heavy-duty pack of foam, not styrofoam, more soft plastic. I want to cut it up and make hills, but I can't paint straight on it, so what would I use to surface it? Plaster bandage, mate. Mod rock. Slap it all down, slap some plaster bandage over it to give it a hard coat. Real Terrain Hobbies also does a lot of mold stuff. Mel, have you seen any of his vids? Real Terrain Hobbies, I think he was around a few years ago. He produced probably about 4 or 5 vids. Really nice stuff. I remember something about pipe work or a gutter or something. That was really nice. But I haven't seen much about. I haven't seen him on my feed. But then again, unless you click notifications, you don't actually see anyone you subscribe to nowadays, do you? Hi Mel, live in Ireland and I cannot for the life of me find XPS foam. Any advice? I know that the lads from Beasts of War had this problem and they're obviously Northern Ireland. And I know that Lloydie switched to using upholstery foam. Yeah? So, that might be a route for you. Right, guys, I will do a little pimping of myself. Remember, we are trying to raise some money for the mic kit so I can do this podcasting. If you are enjoying the show, links down below to send a tip. They're all appreciated. Right, next question. S.A. Fisher. Have you ever used a cry cut or a silhouette cutter to build terrain? Any thoughts on them? No, I haven't used them. Now, as I understand them, They're CNC cutting devices, aren't they? Yeah, I think that's right. I remember Mike picked up, what was it, something called a silver bullet. Now, I found that quite interesting because the silver bullet in the UK is not a cutting machine. I'll leave the chat. I'll leave the chat to handle that one and explain that one. Yeah, but I know Mike had this silver bullet thing and he was raving about it for doing fascias and details and stuff like that. Very much like the 3D printing, very much like the laser cutting. It's an area of terrain making I've not explored. Not because I'm not interested in it, but because I've got so much scratch building stuff to share with you guys. You know what I mean? I've got so many videos to do already. Yeah, that... What you call it? I just haven't got time to be getting into a whole new thing. And it's quite crazy because we've actually gone... I mean, I've watched laser cutting essentially come into the community, dominate terrain building in the community, and then start to take a step back. And now what we're starting to see a lot more printed ePVC. Now Plastruct, they started this, but I've started seeing Sarissa doing this stuff as well. Now I'm not sure if they're laser cutting it, whether they're blade cutting, CNC cutting it, but their latest Burrows and Badgers stuff does look like it's printed ePVC. Oh. So no, I've not used any of those machines, mate. Remember, guys, if you've got any questions, if you want me to see them, I often miss them in the chat. There's a link down below in the description on YouTube to the Google Doc. Yeah, in fact, I'll post it right now. Yeah, you can, post your questions there. And we'll get to them. I'm on 12 of 17 at the minute. Bill in Iowa, right. I took your advice last week and have stuck with one shade of green flock for my mini pines. They look fine. Told you they would. So now I'm going to add small spots of rust colour to about 20% of them. Nice. Yeah. I've never seen a wood that didn't have at least a little illness and... Oh, thank you. And decay going on. What do you think? Too much? Maybe 10%? We can't define standard ratios to nature. So when people ask me how much of this should I do on these trees, it's what I would say, Bill, yeah, is type diseased pine trees into Google. Go along until you find a photo you like and look at the ratio on that. Because some people may like, actually, like a lot of disease, you know, some of the trees completely dead, you know, some of the illnesses spreading onto other trees. Some other people might want just a few little patches of disease to work as a spot colour, you know, just to break it up a little and make it look a little bit more realistic. Yeah, it is really personal preference. So, and I like both. I'd be quite happy with a completely dead, rusty, pine forest, and I'd be completely happy with just the odd little bit of disease on the underhangs. Or even if it's not disease, just a bit of dead tree. You know what I mean? I genuinely like both. So, go to Google with these sort of things. Find a photo you like with the proportions you like. And this is good because you can have this thing where you start to do these things. When you've got something that is majorly one colour and you're adding something different onto it, you can get a bit carried away. Yeah, and before you know it, you've gone well overboard. So going and getting a reference photo of roughly what you want is a good way of reining it back. So if you look at the reference photo and go, right, 10%, yeah, of those trees are diseased, then you can just grab 10% of your actual tree stock that you've made, pull them over and just disease those, and you won't get carried away. So that's my suggestion, mate, but I do like the idea of adding the little bit of diseased trees onto them. That works very well. Right, Grimlock Steve on YouTube. Right, hey, I've just answered this question. He's asking about the pink XPS foam in Northern Ireland. And I just saw that in the comments, so I've just answered that. But to answer it again, I don't know, because I don't know what shops and what's available in Northern Ireland. I have noticed that the guys at Beasts of War, who are based in Northern Ireland, have moved from using XPS, and now they're using upholstery foam, yeah, for their hills and that sort of stuff. And it comes off all right. You know what I mean? They do some good stuff with it. Yeah, so I don't know beyond that, to be perfectly honest. Bill's saying that's my concern, getting carried away. I have a tendency to overdo things. We all do, mate. We get carried away and it becomes a process. Yeah, so the idea of pulling away and separating off the maximum number of trees you want to work on at the start is a good way of controlling that. I mean, you could do them, put them all together and decide you want a little bit more, but at least you've got that check, you know, of once I've done these, put these back in, how are we looking? Right. 14 of 24. Damn. Okay, getting questions now. Thanks, guys. Right. Mel needs a little top up. We're an hour in. I need a cherry bakewell. How hard is polyresin? Right, Republican is asking, how hard is polyresin to work in when it's hard? Planning on modding a statue I plan to buy online. Depends, mate. From what I've seen, and I've not used it that much, but from the research I've done, you can get various grades that will give you different toughnesses when it's finished. Yeah, so with that, I think you really need to reach over to Mike at Terrainiacs, because I think he's done a lot more work with it. Who's the other guy who used polyresin? Custom Terrain. He makes the stuff he sells out of polyresin, I think. So it might be worth jumping over to his channel and just throwing that question at him, because I think he's got a lot of experience at it. So that's Custom Terrain. Slanesh is disappointed in Mel. Why? Mel, are you saying excess isn't good? When did I say excess isn't good? When did I say excess isn't good? Cherry bakewells were good. Right, question 15 of 24. Randy. A few weeks ago, I asked about removing Mod Podge from a piece. I vaguely remember. You said soak it in water and I should be able to remove it without messing the surrounding ring. Didn't work. Any other ideas? I filled the ring, left it for hours, never softened. Really? Right, not at all. If it ain't going to soften with water, you could perhaps try a little alcohol, but I think you're going to have to peel it, mate. Peel it, touch it up. I don't think you're going to have any more problem. I don't think you're going to dissolve it. You know what I mean? So, onwards and upwards. Right, Jonathan's asking, will you ever make dungeons for Dungeons and Dragons? Probably not. Why? First off, I don't really play Dungeons and Dragons. I played Dungeon Saga with the kids, and we've got some dungeon pieces for that. But, I mean, I've not even really played Dungeons and Dragons myself. Yeah, it's also Dungeons and Dragons. It's not wargaming. It is a tabletop game. It doesn't need terrain, but terrain is becoming more and more included in it. But there's the whole host of the D&D crafters that cover that side, and they do a far better job than me. I highly recommend the DMG Info, Black Magic Craft, Witchlock does some of that stuff, DM Scotty, Crafting Muse I think does some of that stuff. Who else does it? can't remember. But there's already quite a vibrant D&D crafting community, and so it's not a matter of stepping on their toes as such, because, I mean, it's all crossover. It's more of a case of, it's not really my focus. Yeah, my focus is the war games terrain, the large tables. Yeah. Okay, next question. Dom is asking, new to terrain and painting. Having vids on proper storage and paints, glues and other... I'm assuming, do I have vids on proper storage of paints, glues or other products? Never really worried about the proper storage of paints. As long as you put the lid on so they don't dry out and you keep them away from freezing, you're generally okay. Yeah, but there are videos in the Back to Basics playlist on all the glues and things to think about with those, but proper storage has never been really an issue. Generally with your glues, your paints and all that sort of stuff, just make sure the lid's on and they don't dry out and keep them out of freezing. The bonds in PVA and resin and acrylics, they all don't like being frozen. It can really screw around with their ability to actually set afterwards. Yeah, so, yeah, that's the main thing. In my studio, I have a radiator that's on frost control. Yeah, that always makes sure my studio never freezes, because a freeze can kill PVA, it can kill acrylics. Makes them do all sorts of weird things. Right. Question 18 of 26. So that's another 6 questions after this. We'll see how we go, whether we need to lock those questions down. We've had quite a few questions tonight, you know. Right, Stuart's asking, I've recently based some terrain with a mixture of PVA and some plastic grit. Then I went to prime it using a spray primer, GW Xandri Dust, and it shattered the PVA plastic grit basing once it had dry. The whole thing just fell apart. Any idea why this happened and how to avoid it in the future? No, I've never heard of that. So you mix PVA and some plastic grit. You then smeared it round the edge to make like a base. And then when you primed it, it shattered. To be perfectly honest, yeah, PVA and plastic don't glue that well. So when it's fully dry, I'm wondering how well the bonds would be. If you made it in a mix and it wasn't applied to anything like that, as the PVA would reduce volume, it would actually it'd be in a big mix of plastic. As the PVA reduced volume, yeah, it would actually separate away from the from the plastic. Now, would the spray paint wet it enough to reactivate the PVA? Don't believe so. So why? I'm curious to wonder whether that's got anything to do with the spray paint. Whether that would have happened whether you spray painted it or not, mate. Have you got any others that you've done that you haven't spray painted yet? Have every single one shattered? Have you done this in the past and had, you know, mix PVA and plastic grit and got good results? Right, mover. I'll wait to see what he comes back with. Yeah. Airaball's asking, where's the best, where can you buy foam boards in the UK? The Range. They sell it in various sizes and colours. Matthew's asking, what videos do you have planned for the medieval playlist? Oh, super excited for it. Loads. My red book's upstairs, so I can't tell you, but there is loads, and I need to get sorted into that. A lot of it is around the different dwelling types. We did a massive list. Palisades, towers, all sorts of stuff. Base the model in the same way. Didn't spray the base in. That seemed to hold fine. Stuart's saying over the plastic grit. I don't know then, mate. That's got me really curious. I've never come across that before. I'd try, rather than spray priming it, I'd try putting just a thick coat of house paint over the base. Yeah. And then spray prime it. And see if putting a sealing coat between your PEVA and plastic mix and the spray primer makes any difference. Right, No worries, Dominic. And remember, guys, if the information is helping you, you can help me with tips down below. Right, I'm going to crack on. We've talked about the medieval playlist. That is coming, and I am jumping on that. I want to get that sorted. Right, Stephen is saying, any experience using polystyrene cake dummies? I'm thinking of using them for landmasses. Okay. Polystyrene cake dummies. Oh, yes. Yeah, I can see your choice. I mean, from what my quick Google search, they're essentially cakes made out of polystyrene that you lay icing over by, to make decorative cakes that you're not actually going to eat. I mean, I don't know why you'd want to make a cake that you're not going to eat. Seems bloody stupid to me. Pardon my language, sorry guys. It's cake related. I get passionate about cake. Oh no what. Do you remember that time when we had to stop Corbin because he was sneaking an entire packet of biscuits and a whole cake upstairs, and he just went, I like cake. I now know where he gets it from. Yeah, definitely. Going back to the cake dummies, they essentially seem like rounds and squares of polystyrene, slightly beveled, so you can certainly use them as a start-off. They are only expanded polystyrene, they're not extruded by the looks of it, so it might be cheaper if you're going to be cutting them to just buy polystyrene sheets, mate, to be perfectly honest. That being said, if you do want a low space solution, not much mess, I can see them being beneficial. When's the next Patreon vid due? It's going to be about a week, and then I've got a glutton of them for you. Yeah, and that will then spread out over, the next month or so. So I've got a load of bits that I've done a load of stuff, yeah, but I'm just waiting for some stuff to finish it off, and it was supposed to arrive over Christmas, but unfortunately it hasn't. Yeah, which is one of the reasons why I took the break over Christmas. Assuming it arrives, I'll be able to finish off probably about 4 videos in the next week or so. And so they'll be coming to Patreon the week after as a bit of a glutton. Cake dummies used for practicing icing decorating skills. Yeah, that makes sense. Or for the top layers if a multi-tiered cake where the weight is an issue. Ah, so the bottom is cake, and then the big bit, so it doesn't crush through the cake, isn't cake. Angela's saying they are not the cheapest option. No, they're not. They would be specialists. But, I've always found when it comes down to price, what's cheaper is depends on the person, not the product. Right, moving on with the questions. Question 22 or 26? Red, green? Okay. What do you think of using stuff from outside, weeds, seeds and sand, for terrain making? Natural stuff, absolutely fine. You've just got to treat it. Yeah, you've got to get rid of the gribblies and make it inert. Yeah, you can do that in all sorts of ways. Quick blast in the microwave. Sand, you've got to bake for half an hour at 200 degrees Celsius to make it abiotic. Yeah, twigs, all that sort of stuff. Roots are really good for terrain making. Plant roots. They make great armatures and little bushes for trees and stuff like that. Throw those into the throw those into the oven after you've taken your Sunday dinner out and switched the oven off. So not while it's on, but while it's still warm, that'll work. Yeah. Weeds and stuff like that, you're going to need to preserve in glycerol, mate. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of using plants from outside. Twigs and root structures, you know, something a little bit sturdier, yes, but I always find whenever I use natural products, they're a bit of a pain. But yeah, definitely use natural stuff. You've just got to get rid of the biotics in it, you know, the bacteria, the fungi, the fungus, and all that sort of stuff. Because if you don't, yeah, and you put it somewhere warm and it gets a bit of moisture, you'll get mold growing on your boards. And I've seen this happen. I actually saw it. It wasn't actually a gaming board. Yeah, it was actually the university students used our studios to do an exhibition of their final work. And this exhibition was going on over a couple of months. And this one girl had basically created this. It was a modern contemporary piece. Yeah. And she basically mixed acrylic, yeah, with just dirt that she just dug out of the ground. Yeah, she'd done nothing to it. And I'm like, so what did you do to like treat the biotics in it? And she just looked at me when I was asking her about it with this sort of blank look. I'm like, well, it's going to go mouldy. And she just looked at me. Now, our studios, they're quite cold. They're also quite wet. There's a lot of moisture in the air, you know what I mean? They're not very dry. And there's mould everywhere. It took about a week for it started to appear all over a third year work. Poor girl. Yeah, by the time that the judges came round, it did not look like it looked in the Rocher. Be careful nuking twigs, they will start on fire. Yeah, obviously, when I say quick blast, I'm talking literally seconds. Right, so, yeah, red, green. You can use natural stuff, mate, but get rid of the biotics in it. Right, Jonathan's asking, will you ever make more vids on post-apocalyptic terrain? Yes. Yeah. I spoke earlier in the show about I've got the next 3 2x2s planned. The next one I'm working on at the minute is the lava sci-fi build. And then we've got a choice. And the choice will be going out to my patrons. Yeah, and they will either have a choice of sort of a World War II Stalingrad rubble 2x2 or sort of future apocalyptic overgrown sort of urban board as the next 2x2. I'm going to do both of them, yeah, but which one comes first is down to my patrons. I'm giving them that choice, yeah, so we'll see how that pans out. But yeah, definitely more apocalyptic terrain coming. I want to do some 40k stuff and stuff like that. Well, you know, apocalyptic sci-fi as well. Right, Kat is asking, when are you next in the studio for your live builds? Should be Thursday. The studio PC's in, it's working. I should have gone in over Christmas and done a bit more testing. I didn't, but I am in the studio all week this week, pretty much, except for Wednesday. And so, yeah, it should be good to go. So fingers crossed, studio streaming on Thursday. Yeah, and next week's schedule, you've definitely got a video coming on Tuesday, yeah, because it's a ramble, and a tour of the studio, because so many people have asked me about the studio that I thought, you know, I'll actually do a tour and show you what's behind the camera and that sort of stuff. Yeah, so that's coming. The Thursday video, well, looks like it's going to be a live stream, to be truthful, so I might have to change my banner. And my last question on the list, Del Hines. Sorry, but it's a two-part question. You sneaky chappy, Del. What is your preferred covering for a tree armatures? Yeah. Preferred covering. I'm a big fan of the coconut fibre. I like using coconut fibre, to be truthful. If I can get vulcanized horsehair, even better. And question number 2. From memory, you didn't try polyfiber. Is there a reason for that? When we're doing the realistic tree series, yeah, the reason we didn't use polyfiber is I didn't have any at the time. And that's the only reason. And then, yeah, we moved on from the series, and I'm going to have to go back to it at some point. Yeah, so, yeah, that's basically the reason I didn't use polyfiber. Right, I need to check the PayPals, make sure I'm not missing anyone. Daniel W, he sent me, I don't actually know how much that is. 45 sec. I don't know how much that is, mate, but thank you, buddy. I don't know what a sec is. But yes, we are back in the studio from Thursday. Fingers crossed, everything should be working fine. It's looking okay. I've done a couple of little tests. So we'll have to get in, get that rolling again. Fingers crossed I'll be able to get Jace come down and join me on Thursday nights, which would be nice. Probably going to do... Not sure of the timings. Don't want to leave it too late. Kez finishes work at 10, so ideally I'd like to be at home same time as her. Yeah, so I'm probably going to go 7:30 till 9:30 initially. But the important thing is, and one of the big things about the studio builds, the studio streaming, is that although I'm having a regular live show on the Thursday, I'm going to be doing a lot more impromptu studio streaming, yeah, through the week. If I can get away with streaming, I'm just going to throw the stream on. I have to be careful because I can't stream while I'm filming tutorials because that sort of spoils things, and yeah, it just makes it a bit awkward and that sort of stuff. But if you're interested in that, I'm only going to be doing that on Twitch. Yeah, so if you're interested in following the impromptu studio streams, and I'll keep reminding you about this, I highly recommend you do jump on Twitch. Yeah, because you know you'll need the notifications won't come through on YouTube for the impromptu ones. Yeah, Rudy's asking, Happy New Year. Any resolutions like making some clump foliage for me? I'll send you a packet, it'll be easier. Thursday and Jace. Well, I mean, if we can get Jace in. Jace has got a lot in at the minute, and I need to catch up with him. I meant to catch up with him over Christmas, and I haven't. I also pretty much haven't replied to anyone on Facebook, YouTube, Patreon. To be perfectly honest, I've pretty much switched my computer off. Yeah, and not done any work. And it was wrong of me, and there are people waiting for replies, so I apologise for that. But with Kez starting this new job, I just wanted some family time. Stream the setup minus major minor pieces if I can, mate. Right. SEK is Swedish krona. Right. What's SEK to the pound then? Just so I can thank him. Looks like he sent about £5, so thank you, buddy. Right. Right, I think about £3. Yeah, about that. It all helps. It's in the pot. You know, it helps me get closer to this microphone, and my talking's getting a lot better as well on these streams, if you've noticed. So I'll be able to record the question segments from these streams and throw these in as well, which is one of the things I do. Yeah, Sam's asking, talking to studio, if I was to set up my own workspace, what do I look for listing wise? I'm not sure if we did a, I did a video on that ages ago. I think it was in the Back to Basics playlist. It was about things you need to think about when setting up a professional terrain studio. Matthew's saying, ever looked at Blood and Plunder? I've seen it and they do some lovely boards, but I've not jumped onto it or played it or anything like that. Rudy's asking what the next tutorials. We're having a little jolly this January. We're going through some 6mm terrain. Yeah, some coastal stuff. So I'll give a final shout out. Thank you, Kat, for what you call it, for moderating the chat. Yeah. Thursday live show should be coming up. Tuesday you will have a bit of a man ball and a studio tour so you can see where I actually work from. I thought it'd be an interesting one for the start of the year. If you like the stream, if you like to support what I do here, tips down below. Tips down below in the description. Any little bit's appreciated, guys. It all goes into the pot and helps me get the lights, the cameras, the kit to help me do this for you guys. Yeah, and in the meantime, I'm going to wish you a happy new year, and we're going to call it. So, have a happy new year, guys, and I'll see you real soon. And I'll catch you in the studio on Thursday. 7:30 UK time Thursday, guys. In the meantime, all the best. Ta-da.